Welcome to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast with Darren Mitchell. If you're a sales leader looking to take your leadership to a whole new level, then this is the podcast for you. We'll be exploring tips, techniques, and strategies to help you take your leadership to the exceptional level and allow you to enjoy more money, more meaning, and better sales results. Welcome back to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast, and welcome back to a man who is an all-round entrepreneur, a man who is a self-described finger in many pies type of person.
It's lunchtime. I'm getting hungry. Keep going.
Chief Revenue Officer and Head of Strategy at New Gen Systems, and also recently appointed Chief Strategy Officer at CyberXL. All-round good bloke. Second episode in a matter of 4 months, Mr. Richard Webbe. Welcome back to the podcast.
I've missed you, Darren, and it's great to be back, mate.
But you know what? I was just thinking, before we press record, it feels like yesterday we had the conversation, but it's 4 months ago.
Yeah, that's life's accelerating, isn't it? It's crazy like that.
4 months. So what's happened in the world in 4 months?
Oh, look, I'm entrenched working with my friend Robert Perrin at his company, New Gen Systems, who specialise in tools and certain products around cybersecurity, and in particular packet capture. And along those journeys, I was catching up with an old mate of mine, Josh Fallon, who had founded CyberXL, and he said, "Oh, Richard, we need to grow CyberXL." And he's a really smart cookie, but he's not so big on the sales and go to market or understanding how to push it. Actually, he's pretty good, but he just, he needs me as his agony aunt to come along and say, "You do that, don't do that, you do that." And he's got a substantial company on a substantial contract that's growing. So kind of all those minds, New Gen and CyberXL, and that we're kind of merging together to support the market. So it's a lot's happened. I've been enjoying your podcasts. Actually, I reached out to your friend Amy Jacobson.
Mate, I noticed that there was a little post that she sent you a copy of her book, which is, and if Amy's listening, shout out to Amy. She's a wonderful human being. And if you haven't, for those listening, if you haven't checked out Amy's book, The Emotional Intelligence Advantage, please do yourself a favor and go and get a copy.
And those that know me I need a lot of help in the emotional intelligence area. God, a lot of people would say that about me because I tend to get excited and go bludgeoning along with that, always considering the other people's feelings. But yeah, Amy sent me her book, the Activating the Emotional Intelligence. I haven't got the book here, so I've forgotten the actual title. But Amy Jacobson, and she's available, and it's really good. And I loved your interview with her; it was so good. And so I reached out to Amy from that, and we've caught up and had a chat, and want to do some things together. And she sent me her book, which I thought was very kind of her. So yeah, so that's I saw that.
Mate, it's amazing how and often through, because we've known each other for a number of years, but the number of people I'm speaking with, you just build a connection. You just don't know who they're connected to, and how the I guess the web connects everybody. And what I'm finding though is good people always have the ability to float to the surface. Yes. And there are good people wanting to do good things, and we'll talk about ethics and stuff today around AI. But it's just amazing when you do speak with good people and you focus on delivering value, it leaves an indelible impression that people want to reciprocate or introduce you to other people who potentially can get value as well.
Yeah, look, it's like a village. Like minds draw together, and they do great things. And say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village of minds to run business and get things going, not just compliance and stuff like that. And I agree with you. You're attracted to like-minded people, and then 1 + 1 = 5, and you're doing really good things. So I'm a total supporter of that.
And it's and I'm constantly amazed at the people who we get to talk to, who are connected to people who, like, for some are world famous, but like really powerful minds in the world. And this concept, the more I speak to people, the more I understand this 2 degrees of separation is actually quite accurate.
Oh, mate, you would be connected to everyone. You are so connected. It's really true. I was telling someone the other day, and if we're going to talk about AI and sales, which I think's a really important subject at the moment, not selling AI, but how the go-to-market industry advises and shares value on what they have to offer using AI to get to the market. I mean, it's everything from influencers manipulating Instagram and digital marketing right through to organizations being told where the best place
Yeah.
is to get their best bang for their buck, and where are the people that need them. That's what it's
Mm.
all about, And you and I were just having a quick chat prior to this. I think you're going to get him back on, John McGiffin from the AI Centre in Melbourne, and I know you're going to get him back on soon. And he said his biggest thing is ethics,
Yeah.
getting it right, making sure. And we always laugh when we run our sales training and that, you ask a group of salespeople, who here likes salespeople, and none of them put their hands up. And I think so. You all
That's right.
hate yourself, and it's all about them saying, "I'm actually scared if someone sells me something that I didn't want, I'll feel like a fool or an idiot." It's very much a retail experience sometimes, but in
Yeah.
reality, our job in the go-to-market marketing and sales industry is not to sell things to people that people don't want. It's to find the people that really need what we have and supply it ethically. And that's always been my view. I know that's always been your view. And on this
Absolutely.
podcast, you support that. So, and of course, when you start bringing AI into it, everyone's distrusting of AI now, right? They're scared that someone's smarter than them, and it's not even a human. It's this little box here. And I always think of my mum when she was younger, many years ago, and she was first working at a real estate agent, and she would ring me and cry on the phone, and she goes, "My computer said this to me. What do I do?" And the same thing, she'd anthropomorphized her computer to being
Yeah.
a character and was scared of it and didn't like it when it said there was an error and, oh, I've done something wrong. And everyone's approaching AI the same way. How long before it's smarter than me? Really, if you understand how AI works and how it mines data, and I always use it as a series of Venn diagrams, if people can visualize a series of Venn diagrams, what it does is it does what we do. What do we do to make a decision? Because it's all about good choices.
Yeah.
We get all the data we can and we cross-reference it in those motor neurons in our head and go, that's a good idea, or
Yeah.
that will work, and then off we go. And it doesn't guarantee it's going to work. I think John McGiffin was telling me, a while ago that the AI LLMs that we use for questions and answers were operating around 30 or 40% efficient. Then they got up around 60% efficient. I haven't checked lately. They're probably about 70 or 80, 90% correct now.
Yeah.
But that's only correct until the data changes
That's it.
and it catches up quicker, right? Where we make a decision maybe based on 3 or 4 variables and we go, oh,
Yeah.
that's good there. We're talking millions of variables, right? So it's
Totally.
probably a little bit more of an accurate pin on the
Yeah.
graph, like our calculus.
So let's talk because I love the focus on the ethics around that, and you and I have always spoken about ethics in selling, and this is where my phraseology of sales is the ultimate form of service comes from, because if I'm being of service to a person because I generally care about them and genuinely care about them, then it's almost I'd be doing them a disservice if I didn't give them the benefit at least looking at a solution to a problem, if they have that problem and if they want to solve that problem. Um, so let's talk about that in context of AI. But first, just for people who, and I don't know why they wouldn't have, but just in case people have not listened to this episode that we did back in April, a little bit about your background in like the Reader's Digest version. You've been everywhere. You've done everything. but,
It's
but
it's funny.
just
Look, like you said, yeah. Okay, so just very quick, I started off as a computer engineer because I'm a nerd and I love STEM and electronics and all of that. And then I did engineering with a company that no one will remember anymore, called Control Data for many years. And prior to that, I was an engineer at Telecom Australia or at Telstra. And then I found out that engineering was great, but people were more important to me.
Mm,
And business outcomes, that's what I really get excited. Business models, how do we add value? How do we improve things for both the individual and a company? And
mm,
that's what really floats my boat. You go in and make a change and it's great. And that's a selling process with the people. So that's, I've pretty much sold everything and anything there is in the computer and IT and technology space. All great advancements in humanity are technology. So I've sold everything from little printers right up to, if you look at your smart metering, I bought smart
mm.
metering to Australia and I sold those concepts to the Victorian government. We end up with about a six, 700, $800 million worth of sales there, and everyone's meter now is read electronically. And that was a great story around climate
Mm.
change, saving power, saving money. It was a really, really great story. So I really enjoyed being involved in that one. So yeah, you name it, supercomputers, PCs, leather wallets,
and also potentially an agent for talent. If I recall a certain situation at a nightclub or a club somewhere in England.
Oh, yes, we shouldn't remind everyone of some of my silly stories. You know, actually, I have using AI, I've actually started documenting my stories and I'm going to roll them out as a book soon. So everyone keeps telling me you should write a book. Yeah, that was a funny one. I always think about that. You know, in what we do in adding value, we never know, right? We never know where it's going to lead us. Now, that was with a mate of mine who sadly has passed away, but we were at Stringfellows in London. But it did teach me that lesson that if you find what someone wants and you find people that have a need and you can get them together, which is what we are as salespeople, really connectors or brokers,
Yeah.
then good things come from that. I was wanting to find a job because I was working a dead end job as a teenager in a chemical factory in Cheltenham. And my mum was not happy, right? And I wasn't happy either. I was earning $69 a week and I got taxed 40 cents every week, right?
Wow.
So I was right on the bottom of the board. And, so I decided to expand my wings because my mother, being the wonderful human being that she was, told me to apply for everything. So I applied for all these jobs and I applied for 3 jobs at Telecom Australia because the government was scared that our engineering minds and our technical minds were going to lag behind the rest of the world. And it was a good decision. So they were giving the Bureau of Met, Telstra, SEC heaps of money to find people to lean in there. So I went for 3 of these scholarships there. To cut a long story short, my stories can be long. I finally got an interview and I'd done some exams. I did a whole lot of exams out at Melbourne Uni and stuff like that. And then I was playing football at the same time. Don't worry, Darren, this is going somewhere important. And I just finished playing in the under 18s or something like that. And there was an interstate comp between the Federal League. Federal League doesn't exist anymore. And one of the club guys said, we're a bit short for the interstate comp and the reserves. And it's a bit embarrassing because you've got to, it's just South Australia versus Victoria. We can't field a team. Do you want to play? I said, yeah. They said $25 in it. I thought, beauty, my first professional game of footy. I'm going somewhere now. So I had this game of footy. I thought all these old fat guys will never get their hand on the ball. I will. Of course, how many times I touched the ball? Maybe twice. And I got knocked out once, right? Because
Oh.
these were big guys. I would have been 50 kilos when wet. And this guy picks me up, looks at me, shakes me, says, you okay? I said, yeah, I think so. He goes, you're doing well. Keep trying. I flash forward to my interview at the board at Telstra, at Telecom Australia. And I'm in the middle of this interview and this guy goes, just step outside. He said, Richard, you applied for all 3, apprentice, scholarship, cadetship. We normally disqualify anyone because told you're not allowed to do that. But you got such a good score on the aptitude tests at Melbourne Uni. We just want to get you in and have a look and see what you were like first.
Nice.
And then he said, I noticed you. And I said, how? And he said, because I'm the guy that knocked you out in the forward pocket. And he says, I think you've got endeavour. So we're going to find you a job. And
There you go.
that's how my IT career started, mate. There you go.
Right. And when you think about that, it all came from a situation where the team was short. And, and, and think about it, you could have quite easily have said no.
Yeah.
And sliding doors moments.
They're all
That are-
in sales and that, they're sliding doors moments. And you know what's interesting about AI and using AI in Salesforce? Often as a salesperson or a go-to-market or a business development or a strategy person, sometimes we find ourselves working on a huge deal and go, crikey, Moses, how did we get here?
Yeah.
And often it was the numbers game we used to play. Call 1,000 people,
Mm.
and hopefully one of them wants what I've got. It's a bit like
Yeah.
running around town with a square peg looking for a round hole. Not the most efficient way to do things,
No.
but we kind of had an idea. Now with AI, we mine the information of what the market needs, and that's the best part of AI. Not trying to trick anyone or be unethical. It just knows who needs what. That's why when you're looking at your Facebook page,
Yeah.
and you're looking to buy a new slide rule, not that anyone buys slide rules anymore, but maybe a new set of tweezers or something. I don't know. I see everything on Facebook. And you go, how did it know I wanted that? What it does is it knows your interactions with the world, because 90% of it are interacting 70% of the time through our social media reads and watches. And it just gets those Venn diagrams and go, you know what? Darren absolutely needs a new suit. And so all of a sudden, suit ads start appearing. And I find that a great use of resources. I don't find that unethical. I find it really valuable. It's the same as when they would run the ads for Disneyland on a Sunday evening when most families are at home watching telly or a movie together, right?
Yeah.
It is natural stuff. It's not trying to be unethical. There's room for unethical behavior in there, but I don't think
Mm.
it is. And so I think that's really important from where we're coming from and how we do
Mm.
things and stuff like that. And if you look at the process of sales and what we actually do and how all of that works, it's kind of interesting because if I go back and go, okay, so what are we going to look at in sales using AI? Well, the first one, as we spoke about, it's market intelligence.
Yeah.
Who needs what we got? No one needs you and I calling 1,000 people and annoying 999 of them because they don't care what we
That's
have
right.
and we don't want to do it. So there's a big tick for AI. Tell me, and I won't go into the details, there's a million ways we can do that.
Yeah.
And that's great, right? Early AI, by the way, for people to understand, was when you went into the fish and chip shop. I don't know if you remember, many years ago, a lot of people won't. And while you ate your fish and chips, there was all those little pads to fill out a free competition. Do you remember those?
Yeah,
And you'd
absolutely.
fill it out and they'd say, what would you like? A free set of steak knives, a night accommodation at some motel. All it was market intelligence gathering.
Mm.
It didn't waste much time. We filled it out, put our name and number and said who we were,
Yeah.
and away you go. And so that's all that part of AI. And getting those tools delivered to your door. And of course, then the next step of AI in sales is some areas that we've all been a bit annoyed by. The auto dialer, the bot when we're
Mm.
online and we're trying to research and
Yeah.
some bot turns up and it's so frustrating, particularly when they use that for customer service because yeah, I know. We hate it. And it was, I ran a company that did that, not for long, I might add. And it is frustrating because it's not there yet,
No.
right? It's very trying to help, but not there yet, not
No.
working. Bots now, I think, are a little bit better. But I can say when I was in that company, a company that wanted to provide us some more tools, we had a Teams meeting and we're having a chat. And there's this lady in the meeting sitting there and I didn't know who she was. And I'm going, what's going on? Now, mind you, I was a minute late to this meeting. And I turned to her and I said to the guy, I said, look, this is a great minute. Can someone please introduce me? I said, would you like to introduce yourself? And everyone was laughing. It was a fake. It wasn't a real person. And I had no idea. But, the icon or the whatever you want to call it, demeanor,
Yeah.
manners, communication was perfect.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
visualization, the voice was brilliant. I was most impressed.
Well, so this is one of the, I guess, things that a lot of people are perhaps concerned about around AI. And the whole purpose of this episode is talking about ethics, and everything we talk about around sales is it needs to be ethical because we're not about throwing products in the hands of people that don't need it. We're about creating solutions for problems that exist and helping businesses become better to drive better acquisition of customers, better delivery of service to customers. So everything we do is based on that. There's obviously people out there and organizations out there that are using AI for their own selfish means to make it more about themselves and things like you see this in deep fakes and manipulation of information and misrepresentation and so forth.
Yeah,
We're not in that sphere, nor do we want to be in that sphere. But
true.
from your perspective and working in this sort of area, what are some things we need to be, I guess, conscious of or look out for?
Look, I think that's a really good question. First of all, you're exactly right. The go-to-market industry or business or skill is about finding someone who needs what we've got, not shoving it down someone who doesn't. So if we look at the old model that we used to do, where we did massive amounts of cold calling, I
Yeah.
know it's been said many times before, cold calling is virtually dead, right? People don't have time to answer those calls or those emails all coming in.
Mm.
We still reach out to new people like that, and that's totally valid. But this mass market, and I find that sort of unethical in a way. If you go and get a bot to call thousands of people, where AI gets really unethical is exactly what you said,
Mm.
where it misrepresents what's happening.
Mm.
So let's say we've got a retail or a business to business product, which is where you and I, and somehow they use an AI visualization or some AI numbers or some misrepresentation to show that it works and it does what it actually does.
Mm.
That's where it's unethical, right? But if you find people that you need to talk to and communicate with. And let's face it, if people don't talk business and things don't get sold, that whole world outside our window stops dead, because
Yeah.
that is our world of transaction, getting value, seeing doctors, seeing people, transport, travel, everything, right?
Yeah.
It's all about that. And so you can just put a finger on the word misrepresentation for it to be ethical.
Mm.
Now, there's a little bit of another part to that, where mining private data to get to someone, or not to get to someone so much, but to show them this might help. Like, I might know something secret about someone. They'll need what I've got, but I'll use the knowledge of them to send it to them. That's very much on the edge of unethical, isn't it? Because it's their
Mm.
private information. But if
Yeah.
you think holistically about that, if what I'm trying to share with that individual or company, regardless of if I know it's private information or not, is helpful to them, then you're
Mm.
not really being unethical.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that. And because when you think about it, I look at AI as almost like a speed to market improvement. So
that's exactly what it is.
it's cutting down. So the people still want to do business with people. They still have problems they want to solve, but it's the speed of which we can gather information, relevant information to the market that we want to focus on. That if we then start and continue to talk the language that resonates with them, that is, they've got this problem, they need to find that solution, they're more likely to lean forward and at least explore what that solution is. And so using AI to get to that point is not going to necessarily replace the people, but it's going to make it hopefully a more consistent experience in the buying cycle for those customers, because we've now got relevance around what they're experiencing.
Totally nailed it right on the head there. Exactly. It's about efficiency.
Mm,
It's about having the right information at the right time for the right person. You're
mm,
not wasting people's time. You understand what they need, and you can show them what you've got is going to help them, and away they go. And if you look at the market from digital marketing, where we get marketed to on LinkedIn and imagery on Facebook and social media and web browsers, and even electronic signs now that know that when you and I walk past, oh, look, there's a middle-aged guy, right? He probably needs this, right? And an ad for testosterone pops up on the screen, and we run away as fast as we can. We don't, by the way, Darren and I don't really need testosterone, but that is another, AI is going to come into our lives in so many different ways, right?
yeah.
I remember I was working when I was doing my private equity investment with a guy that was creating music that was soothing to disabled people. And he was testing brainwaves and feedback. And I'd never met anyone like this person. It was just fabulous. And so music is healing, right? And he was
Yeah.
using AI to get that right, because the amount of variables that he'd have to work on to get that right was hard, right?
Yeah.
Now, what's the evil side of that? We now know that if we mash up a certain song, people like things that are like them. So you might have heard a song from the 40s that you loved. They pinch a beat from that, hide it inside another song from someone like Snoop Dogg, and you think you've heard the song before, but you haven't. But you
Yeah.
listen to it carefully, and now all of a sudden, that new song is programmed into your motor neurons, and it's familiar, so you start to like it as well. So there's a little bit of sneakiness in some of that, but that's okay. That's human nature.
So where, from your perspective, and you're in this daily, is there a line? And if there is a line, where is the line?
I think the one of the lines is definitely privacy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and of course, people knowingly and happily release all their privacy onto the web via many different ways, and then complain when someone knows something about them. So the first
Yeah.
message is privacy is number one. Misrepresentation is probably 1A, right? And I think that's where the line is. It's with privacy and misrepresentation. After that, this is an efficiency tool.
Mm,
It's not going to make things more dangerous or scary, or you're going to be manipulated. It is just saving resources. And by that, people aren't going to lose jobs. There's going to be more jobs,
mm,
because we're going to have more transactions supporting humans, longer life,
yeah.
better quality of life,
Yeah.
better connection with our family and friends. And a lot of people say, oh, I hate social media. Yeah. Then you're probably using it wrong, or maybe it's not for you. And that's true too, right? There
Yeah.
are people who want to live out in the bush without any electricity. Good on them. right? But let's say that in third world, life expectancy has more than doubled in the last 50 years. And in the first world, if we can use that comparison, our life expectancy has gone up by 27 years or something in the last 50
Mm,
or 80 years. That's
mm.
amazing progress
It's huge.
if we think extending our life is progress, right?
Yep.
And, you know, health, and I think someone told me before real commercialism kicked in less than a century ago, 90% of the world's population was living near the poverty line. Now it's less than 5%.
Mm.
What a great leveling. There are the, you know, the complainers and that, and I appreciate they have to be there to keep us all honest. But really, I think humankind is making a lot of progress. And I think AI is going to accelerate that in the best possible way. There are ways it can be perverted, like you know, someone goes and puts a fake image of me nude on the web. Not sure why anyone would look to that, but that would upset me. That would offend me, as well as most of the population anywhere. And that's wrong. But we have the ability to police that. I have a daughter who's very, very creative, and she just hates her dad. They're pinching all the music from. Here's the thing. I think I might have said this. There's a great line on one of the guy that wrote Bart Simpson's The Incredibles, and there's a great line by the bad guy on that, right? And he says to Mr. Incredible, "You shunned me, well, I'll shun you." And he goes, "How?" He said, "Well, if I give everyone superpowers, then no one's a superhuman, are they?"
That's it.
So AI will be the great leveler.
Yeah.
And here's the difference. I know heaps of people who go, "Well, I'm going to write a proposal, cut and paste, drop it in, use AI. Good. I now don't have to worry about my grammar and stuff like that." Trouble is, people now can tell an AI proposal from one written by a human because
Mm,
of the tone, the punctuation, the way it works. So
mm.
using that AI to get a proposal done quickly, great, do it. But if you don't personalize it, you're not going to go anywhere, are you? You'll just be copying everyone else.
And that's a great point you make, because I know, speaking to a lot of people that are in the education sector, there's a lot of education areas that are making AI less available, or in some cases banning you're not to use AI in submission of papers, et cetera, et cetera. And there's two sides to that. One is, okay, it can actually mean that we're forcing ourselves to learn to be at our own work, but also the flip side of that is perhaps we're not preparing people for when the real world hits them, where AI is already being used in our daily lives, and we may not necessarily recognize that. But you made a very interesting point, and that is you can rely on AI to give you the bulk of information and dot points. But what you can do is you can also train AI to be like you in terms of your tonality and how you've got to personalize it. And I use the sales analogy where if you're doing a proposal and you simply run AI to do the proposal, you deliver that proposal. At some point, you're going to have to go and have the conversation and provide context to that proposal. Now, if you walk into a chief information officer, a CEO, or a board, and you're then having to present your solution, and you've relied on AI to do it all the intelligence sits within the AI engine. The intelligence is not with here. So you're going to be found out very, very quickly in terms of whether this has been your work or this has been the work of an AI. So you
So
need to
true.
interrogate it. You need to interrogate and not just take it as gospel that what AI is giving you is actually going to be true, even though you mentioned before that the accuracy rate is continuing to get better.
Yeah, it's like spell checker, right?
Yeah,
It's like a big spell checker with an intellectual angle.
yeah,
And if you rely on AI to write your proposals, you're going to win nothing. You're going
yeah.
to sell nothing. There's no value. I did hear recently of a court case. Now, what a lot of people don't know is when you use an LLM, which is like a chat GPT standard, sort of, it's become the new search engine, right?
Yeah.
If you use that, when you enter a question in, they don't realize, but that goes straight into all the AI. It's contributing. So you're sharing private information, right?
Mm,
So, you know, if you know, and so there was a court case recently in Victoria, I believe. And of course, no names to be used to protect the guilty, but a particular lawyer or representative wrote their brief. And of course, in court cases, the selling document is the brief,
mm,
both from the prosecutor or the plaintiff or, you know, the defender. And so this particular young, I won't say prosecutor, used AI because they were under so much pressure to write the brief. and it was submitted in court.
Yep.
And someone on the other side, hang on, there's something funny about how this is written, knowing the person, knowing that. And of course, most people don't realize, but you can get something that's been written in AI, put it back into one of these LLMs, and it will tell you, yes, I wrote 95% of this. Right?
Yeah.
They don't realize how obvious that is, right? It's like copying someone's homework, right?
Yeah.
And so then what happens is that particular legal person had punitive or had some punishment associated with it, but they were breaching so many things because they're putting private information into an LLM, which is training a library that's open to the entire world.
Yeah.
Right. So really bad idea. Right.
Yeah.
And so think of it as a spell checker, think of it as a super search engine, think of it as an efficiency checker. I reckon it's going to be multiple centuries before anything comes up with the creativity that you or I or anyone listening to this podcast can do. We all have our own dispossessed view of the world. And we talk about neurodiverse people. Some of them have got the best dispossessed views of the world. That's where our world's creativity comes from, right?
Yeah.
I saw there was some comedian pretending to defecate and eat her defecation on stage, currently at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Why would anyone want to watch or do that? I don't know. It was in the paper. But somewhere in that craziness from that individual comes some creativity that will create something good. Because remember, creativity is changing the normal way we do things. And if you keep using AI as a cheap tool, then you're not changing anything, and you will always be back in the crowd. You won't be ahead.
And so this is an interesting thing, because we talk a lot about paradigm shifting, right? And paradigms, we all live in a paradigm, companies live in a paradigm, countries live in a paradigm. So and you said it really well, don't use it as a cheat sheet, use it as a complement to what you do. Help to interrogate your own thinking. Have it as you could even use AI as a pseudo buddy slash mentor to soundboard against, right?
Yep.
But to interrogate it, to say, okay, does this sound, this is what I'm trying to, this is the sort of tone I'm trying to create, this is the kind of message I'm trying to create. How does this resonate? Because if you do the targeting search around your ideal customer, as you said
Yep.
before, instead of having to ring 1,000 people to get one or two to say yes,
Yeah.
you now interrogate and say, okay, where are these people, and and this is the problem I'm trying to solve. Where
Yeah.
do they hang out? So it now becomes more relevant.
Yeah, absolutely true. So it's an efficiency tool. It's a speed me up tool. It doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change what you're trying to do. It doesn't remove your humanity from you,
Yeah.
and you can't take humanity away.
And that's it. Because at the end of the day, when we're in sales, nobody wants to do business with a bot, right? Even if they don't like
Within 3 seconds, I like, actually, what did I have the other day? I had, to be honest, the new natural language bots that call out that you answer the phone on. And remember, this is very much more retail, but it's coming into the B2B world.
Yeah.
When I get a call from one of them, I find them fantastic, right? Compared to those overseas call centers where you can't get them to shut the hell up, and you can't, they won't let you out. I hand the phone to my children, and they just dance along with them for an hour. Right? I remember I came back one time and my daughter was sitting there, age 8, going, yes. And what about this? And I hear the guy go, you're just wasting my time. And she goes, that's why I'm here. Anyway, so these auto dialers and natural language, and I've got some friends who runs coming, I found the experience really great. It was so efficient. There was no manipulation in it. It was, the pass algorithm was great. Richard, do you need that? Do you do that? Yes, I do. We can do that. Oh, I don't like that. Okay, bye. Thank you. Gone.
Yeah.
What a great way to transact. I actually enjoyed, being cold called, believe it or not, because it was tick, 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 no, bye. You get a human in there. They're paid KPIs on how many calls they engage with. Yes. So their objective is just to annoy the crap out of you and keep you on the phone. And I hate that. I hate hanging up on people, but I've done it a few times, but that's life. So you're right. And if we look at the proposal writing, the following up, the efficiencies, I said a few years ago when I was doing those talks around Europe that voicemail is dead or dying because we don't have time to listen to some. And I said, I think text's going to take over from that. And I think I haven't done the data, but I think I'm correct. If I want to leave your message, Darren, I don't go, unless it's your mum, right? She wants to hear your loving voice or vice versa. It's kind of like Hey, Darren, I'm going to be late to the thing. Oh, there you go. I'm not going to ring up, leave your message. I'm going to be late. You're going to answer, listen.
Mm.
And then I said the same a while ago about email. Email is
Yeah.
becoming irrelevant. It's flooded. It's too much. I've got 4,000 unopened emails in my inbox.
Yeah.
And I've done that whole trick many people have done, delete. Now we've got AI. You delete all your emails and
Yeah.
someone comes back, especially the police when you've got a warrant out on you. It's crazy. Anyway, so no, I don't have a warrant out on me. So, with Copilot and all these other new things, they're starting to curate your email for you.
Yeah.
They're starting to narrow down and take the noise away. And the people that introduce that noise are starting to learn that's not very efficient.
Yes.
Direct mail to your home used to have about a 5 or 6%, sometimes high as 10% efficiency. Now
Yeah.
it's down to 1.1%,
Mm.
right? So we still get a bit of direct mail, but between chopping down trees and printing and waste of power and resources, it's not a great way to talk to us. And everyone's moving to that digital. So, AI, the digital marketing. Who's my market? Let's create some clever ways to message across the platforms where my customers are.
Yep.
And then let's deliver them the message. And let's use AI as a way for them to accept our reaching out to them or reject it. And
Yep.
away we go. So I see
Yep.
all good things. People aren't going to lose their jobs. Salespeople aren't going to go away. Think of the internet generation. I know some companies literally sacked their entire sales force and said, we're on the internet. We've got a web page. Look how smart we are. Anyway, about 5 minutes later, they all hired more salespeople.
But they weren't the same salespeople because they found a job at a better company, and so
Well,
they
that's true.
got the
That's true.
second right.
Yeah.
Because on that, then, because there'll be a lot of people that listen to this, and I've spoken to a lot of people that are concerned about the sales process or sales organizations or roles within sales teams that may be potentially replaced at some point in the future. Now, my view is there might be some lowly paid transactional type things that would make sense to use AI for that, but it's not going to necessarily mean that those people are no longer going to be required. We just retrain them in other areas of the business so they can continue to add value.
Absolutely. I remember I was launching the functionality of the intranet with Cisco systems around the world many years ago, and people didn't know what an intranet was. And I remember the CTO for Cisco got a 4,000% return on investment when he created the intranet at Cisco. And then the board said to him, you can have as much money as you bloody well like. Well done. So let's think about that whole thing. There are no typing pools anymore, are there?
No,
And there are
no,
no typewriter mechanics anymore.
no.
And carbon paper doesn't sell as much as it used to, did it? Yet we employ more people at a higher percentage, at a higher quality, with lower poverty and more valued lives today. And that's where we're headed. So people just got to remember that. We're not headed to doomsday. There's not going to be like one person in the corner with all the gold and everyone else is starving, because there's no gold for that person unless we're all living our lives and having a good time. So the first thing is you'll find the efficiencies around a sales organization. Let's pick on one that you and I know well, the CRM. Now, CRM is a pet hate of mine.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of them at all. When they first came out, I got so excited. I was talking to one of the founders of Salesforce many, many years ago, and believe it or not, his mum lived in Bondi, an apartment above me when I was living at Bondi Beach many years ago. Great guy, and early iterations of CRMs were great, right? Because we would do spreadsheets, and that was annoying. So all of a sudden, we had this great little prompting tool.
Yeah.
And that information could go to the rest of the organization. We kind of liked that, yes, but then for resources, but when they were going, hey, you put this deal in there, why isn't it closed? We hated that bit. And then CRMs got hijacked by the accountants.
They did.
To become a supply chain ordering system. Yes. And so the stupid thing, our friend Elliot Epstein says this, companies put stuff in place to get in the way of salespeople. And one of them was the laborious amount of rigor around a CRM put on a salesperson. They had no time to go selling. They're busy filling out the bloody CRM. One of the big areas I want to see improve is AI and the CRM. How would it be, right? Now, I look at our, even this meeting, I just had a meeting before us on Zoom, of course. It does at the end of it. It's written all the text out and it's got the action points for me all done, right? I didn't have to take any notes. I could think and listen. And then I just grabbed those action points and emailed them to everyone.
Yep.
Normally I'd be doing that for hours, putting it in the CRM, doing this. And so that's where I see the real positive value. So
Mm.
people aren't going to be, we used to have these inside salespepeople who were basically administrators to enter orders into the system.
Yeah.
If companies are smart, they're going to look at that lowbrow stuff, right?
Mm.
And no disrespect to those that do it. And they're going to say, you know what? I'm going to put a little copilot thing or something over the top of it, and it's going
Yeah.
to capture that data, put it in the system, get rid of the swivel chair, all that sort of stuff. We've still got, and we've got screen scraping software today, right? That
Yes.
actually can read one system, transfer to the other until we get the middleware. So yes, that menial tasks, they're going to all go, and we'll be able to, it'll be great. We'll be able to just have a conversation like this. And when I walk away, hopefully the system says, well, Richard, you remember I had that chat with Darren and you promised him this. I've taken note. You didn't promise him that. I recommend everyone looks up a video called The Knowledge Navigator.
Mm.
And it was produced by John Landis with Steve Jobs. And you can still get an old version of it somewhere on YouTube. And is one of the best visionary, and I think it was made 40 years ago. And it is the application of a business person using AI. And while back then it looked crazy, it's bloody lowbrow stuff today, but it is so efficient. You've got these meetings today, you've got to do this. So I think the word for AI and sales and go-to-market and marketing, it's already here. It's all good. Educate yourself.
Yeah.
And don't reject it.
And that's the big thing. Don't reject it, because as we've talked about through this episode, it's change is inevitable, and change is happening, and it continues to happen. Even where we were 5 years ago compared to where we're going to be in 12 months' time is just poles apart.
Yeah.
But be a person who embraces change, but you can maintain obviously the ethics and everything we do, but also be really clear on who you are and what you stand for and
That's it.
what your value is, because you can use AI as an accelerator of the value you provide rather than being a replacement of the value you provide. And that's the key message, I think. It's used as an augmentation of what we create, not a replacement of what we create.
Darren, that's so true. I mean, it even, a while ago, it even scares me. We don't like change. I used to live on the fact that I was a great cold caller. I had more front than Myers. I'd approach anyone. I always think I think it was one of the ad agencies wanted to win a customer in Collins Street. I won't say the names. I know who they are. And to win the deal, the artistic director and the account director and the managing director of that ad agency, which won many Clios, by the way, which was the highest award in advertising, got a cherry picker and stuck it on Collins Street and held up a sign and went up to the level of the managing director of this retail organization saying, you need us because we can get to your customers, right? What a great thing to do. No AI is going to tell you to do that.
No.
And that's what it's all about. I feel uncomfortable because I'm watching all of this digital marketing and all these, and I've got to brush up myself because it's a science I don't understand. But it's actually not that hard to learn, and it's kind of fun to play in.
Oh, it is absolutely. So it's an opportunity to really extend the value we provide.
Yep.
It's an opportunity to, educate ourselves and really delve into what is our personal value proposition, what is our key company value proposition, and how do we now use that and use AI to help create the correct messaging that's going to hit our target customer. Because when that happens, as we know, if a buyer's in the buying cycle, they're ready to make a purchase, who do we want them to be thinking about first? We want them to be thinking about us. And if that is the case, then we're going to have a match, and we're going to be able to do business and continue to do business. So use this as an opportunity to educate yourself and get better.
Very true.
Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it.
Exactly. So research on your customer, finding the right customer, getting the information to them, making sure it's tracked with your company and you've got the resources, and closing the deal. There's a dozen AI tools already. Sorry, there's hundreds of AI tools already that support that. And the smart. There was a great Twilight Zone show. I know I'm always quoting the TV. There's a great Twilight Zone show, and it shows this old sales guy, and he goes to the office, and all of a sudden, he picks up a stapler and he says, does anyone need this stapler? And someone says, that's a jug. He looks at it and goes, what? That's a stapler. And as the show goes on, his whole language is wrong.
Right.
And everything he thought had this name got a different, and it's a metaphor for how the world changes and then you can
Yes.
feel isolated. And by the end of the show, he's sitting there going, and everyone's talking a different language, and you can't work out what to say, what to do. That will happen to us.
Mm.
So bury yourself in the interesting parts of AI.
Yes.
It's like we use the term actor now when we talk about security and cybersecurity. When people started saying that, I thought, are we making a movie? We talk an actor, because actor refers to an entity
Yeah.
that's playing a part in
Mm.
something we're trying to do. And that
Yeah.
was new to me. And I'm going, what's everyone talking about? So it's always going to change. Get in there, have a play. It's not, no one died. No animals were hurt during the making of this AI.
But embrace it, but also maintain your I'm not sure whether the term is your humanity, but remember that you're a human, that people want to do business with humans. So don't, what I'm saying there is don't give all of your power to the AI thinking the AI is going to be the answer, because it's not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a bunch of middle and senior management across our entire business landscape that are scared and need to be educated on AI, because they're just, they don't know what's going on. And the companies at senior and middle management that understand this conversation we're having and then can work out what data in their organization that they have that
Mm.
they can mine to put them into competitive advantage is really important. I run a session with companies to do that, and we get the executives in and we say, right, how do you win a deal? What is your value, right? And they go, and we go, right, well, that data is over there.
Yeah.
And you need to apply that data over here. And here's how you do it. A classic example was with another organization, will remain nameless, and they were in legal litigation constantly. And all they did is mine all of the precedents of the cases they'd run, right? And they used a thing everyone probably knows now called a RAG, which is like a firewall between your data and an LLM and the outside world's data. That means your data doesn't cross over there, but you can still use the functionality of the AI to process your data with the external data. So it's a really clever thing. And so yeah, they went from paying millions and millions to lawyers to just saying to the person who might be making a claim against them, you know what? I understand, but over 99.99% of precedents, that's how much you get paid for that injury or that situation. We're happy to provide you the precedents. Don't waste your time getting a lawyer. Here's our offer.
Yeah.
On your bike. And I think that's a great thing for everyone involved.
Oh, absolutely. It's just going to make our life should be more effective, more efficient, and give us time to really focus on the things that are important, is maintaining human connections.
Middle and strategic management need to get what we're talking about.
Mm.
And that will enable the go-to-market and salespeople of those organizations. They've got to get it.
Absolutely. So, Richard, with that, hey, love the conversation as always.
Great to see you,
Where
buddy.
can people you too? Where can people connect with you?
They can find me on LinkedIn, Richard Webbe, Webbe. There's not many of us on LinkedIn. There's a famous actor that was on ER, I think, but he's an African American and I'm not. And yeah, just look me up on LinkedIn, Richard Webbe, and reach out to me. I respond to everything. I get a lot, but I respond to everything.
You do. You're a fabulous man. You're a great human, and always a pleasure to have you on the podcast, mate. So we'll have to do this again.
Says you, Darren. Take care, buddy. Good talking to
Thanks,
you.
Richard. All the best, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for listening to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast. I trust the information in this episode has been helpful in your journey towards becoming exceptional. And remember, please take the time to rate the show, subscribe to the show so other people can find it. But also, if I can help you, jump on my calendar, go to leadwithdarren.com, and let's have a conversation about how I can help you along your journey to being exceptional.